Hi everyone, I'm Linxuan. My student number is 55266626. I made this video for our MGMT 5912 Cultural Profile Assessment. I picked Malaysia for my assessment because I worked with them before. I used to work at an HR company in China that helped match overseas labor jobs. One time we were talking with a Malaysia company about a worker dispatch project. We were all ready, but during our first online meeting, they reacted really calmly and didn't answer our important questions. We thought it was really strange. Our terms were quite fair, so why did they act like that? Later on, we realized we hadn't considered their cultural habits and way of thinking. This made me realize that negotiation isn't just about making proposals, it's also about understanding culture. So today I'm sharing my experience to help us understand the cultural differences in Malaysia negotiations and how we should react when negotiating with them. Let's dive into some key facts about Malaysia. This country in Southeast Asia is known for its mix of people. The main groups are Malaysian, Chinese, and Indians, each with their own beliefs, languages, and ways to socialize. Malaysia is famous for its culture that's diverse, integrated, polite, and harmonious. So remember, negotiation style can differ a lot depending on which group you are dealing with. Malays tend to focus on politeness, respect for rank, and staying together as a team. They usually avoid tough talk. When it comes to cross-cultural negotiation, knowing Malaysia's cultural big picture is important. But you also need to consider the backgrounds of the people you are dealing with. That way, you can adjust your communication style to fit each situation better. About Malaysia culture, according to Health Theory from 1976, Malaysia tends to communicate in a more subtle way. They pay attention to tone of voice, facial expressions, and other things instead of just saying what they mean directly. In Horford's cultural dimensions, Malaysians are very collected victims. They value teams' benefits and relationships more than individual goals. Trust building comes before cooperation in their culture. Malaysia is a country with a high power distance, meaning there's a clear hierarchy in society. In negotiations, decision-making power usually belongs to those who are older or in higher positions. In Malaysia's multicultural society, different cultural styles can be found in the same company and even in the same meeting. Recording people to be flexible as microculture theory explains. Microculture isn't about national identity, but about making up culture rules for specific interactions. Malaysians also prefer to build long-term cooperative relationships rather than having too many transactions that are just about getting things done. So, to avoid conflicts, they might use indirect language to show disagreement. Like, let's think about it. This culture traits will directly impact how Malaysians express themselves, make discussions, and prefer to cooperate during negotiations. So when we negotiate with Malaysians, we can't just look at their national cultural labels. We need to understand the complex cultural logic behind the two. I'm going to come up with two action plans to help with the negotiations for Malaysia. The first one, action plan one. It's all about how to chat and build relationships with Malaysians between getting into the nitty-gritty of the deal. During the differentiation stage, you see Malaysia negotiators like to bond over casual topics like holidays or family. They value status and hierarchy, so discussions are usually made by bigwig or the August Gayground. This means negotiations with them can move a bit slow. especially like the start. In the exploration stage, Malaysia's culture is all about subtlety. They don't like to say no outright and might say, let's consider it or we need to discuss this more. They are big on cooperation, like to have a few options on the table rather than strict demands. They also prefer to decide as a group, not just on their own. Finally, in the exchange stage, Malaysia negotiations like to take things slow and steady. They are all for keeping harmony in negotiations and aren't too keen on confrontation. They like to test the waters with a hasty approach, like starting with a short-term deal to see how things go. And since they are all about facing saving, be careful not to openly reject their ideas or give in too much, or you may just rock the boat. My action plan 2 is all about negotiation with Malaysians when you talk to them. It's keen to get their culture, but also think about where you are coming from. Like if you are from China, Europe, the US, or India, they may think you are too fast or too dark. So you gotta meet in the middle. First at the differentiation stage, don't just dive in. Chat about festivals and small talk first to build trust. Also know who's get the final say there. No pushing and be all about that long-term cooperation if you are from a culture that's more upfront, like Germany or the US, watching your spend and tone to not come off too strong. In the exploration house, have more than one option up your sleeve, not just one or the other. React to against with something like let's try this other way instead of just saying no. Keeping an eye on their body language is big word use. If you are from a culture that doesn't really much on words, learn to pick up on highs. Finally, we are at the exchange stage. You can take the concessions strategy stamp it down of all at once. Also think about using the log-rolling strategy. This means giving in on these important topics to get what you really want, and don't use ultimatum type language. Instead, focus on win-win and building trust. Finally, and with a vision of the future, like this project, it's just the start. We are looking forward to grow with you. Also, when negotiating with Malaysians, be careful not to make these common mistakes, not respecting age and rank, pushing too hard or talking about contact details too soon, and scheduling meetings during Muslim holidays. So being respectful of cultural customers and keeping a good atmosphere are key to moving the partnership forward. After reviewing the study and the practice of cultural negotiation, I realized that negotiation isn't just about how we communicate, but also understanding culture, making communications, and respecting differences. In the diverse and high contact culture like Malaysia, we need to slow down and understand others' habits to really connect and cooperate. Cultural affect negotiators in many ways. It decides what we say, how we say it, when we say it, and even how we cooperation express disagreement and building trust in cross-cultural situations, and there's culture at play when we adjust our strategy. The way we express ourselves, or even just when we pass. This assessment made me say that real negotiation isn't just about convincing the other side. It's about understanding their culture and finding ways to cooperate. And there are the references. That's all. Thank you.